Blacephalon is fire, but it also just takes knockouts anyway.
Yeah, it does. Just Blacephalon is really the big, consistent kind of linear strategy deck, which it just aims to get as many energy on the board as possible and just use Mind Blown to deal with any threat that's put out against it. Maybe sometimes following up with Turning Point on Naganadel to deal with the Buzzword GXs of this world and such.
And there are Zach's prizes. He has that one of Marshadow in the prizes with that Let Loose ability. Really disruptive for your opponent, especially when you play a lot of cards like Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball.
Yeah, because we're obviously able to find it very, very easily, and just when it's put onto the bench, both players have to shuffle it in and shuffle their hands into their decks and draw 4 cards. It can also just be useful to just draw more cards from your own side as well, because unlike Judge, which has the same effect as Let Loose, it doesn't take up your supporter for the turn, so then if you find a supporter off of the Let Loose, you can just carry on even further.
Yeah, and then looking at Clifton's deck list, it is Zoroark, Alolan Ninetales, Decidueye, but he has a little bit of spice in there as well, but oh no. 2 Zoro in the prizes. He only plays 3, though he does have that Ditto Prism Star.
He's got 2 double colorless prizes as well, though.
Oh, wow.
So horrendous prizes for Clifton.
And looking at his list, he actually plays 1 Macargo with that Smooth Over ability, something that we've seen time and time again this weekend. But no Slugma, really just using it for the Ditto. Like, if I have it, I have it. If not, Ditto is literally another Zoroark. Yeah,
so no matter which way it ends up working out, it's still pretty decent. But here we go. It looks like we are off, and Clifton will be going first, starting off with an Ultra Ball, discarding a Field Blower and a Guzma, and just going to be looking through, and he's going to notice that's a really, really ugly prizing going on from his side.
Yeah, really unfortunate for him there, though he still has plenty of other options, especially with Professor Elm's lecture here.
Yeah, which undoubtedly he will be grabbing right now, of course. One of the other most impactful new cards from Lost Thunder, able to make you search your deck for 3 Pokemon with 60 HP or less and put them into your hand. Just one of the really best consistency cards that the Zoroark variant especially could ask for.
Yeah, and looking at his list as well, he does play that one of Alolan Ninetales GX, the water variety from the Sun and Moon base set.
That's going to be really important for him. We've seen already in a couple of the matches how much work that card puts in against Blacephalon. This being able to, do just really 160 damage in the active by just attaching double colors and a choice band and doing Ice Blade, and then that just leaves the Blacephalon 1 Feather Arrow away from being KO'd.
Yeah, and he's really going to have to try to target down those Poipools and Naganadels on the bench to really limit the actual damage output from Blacephalon. And try to play around B-String turns as well, because that's going to come up big. Yeah,
that's something we actually saw quite a bit throughout day 1, is that, if you can play around the B-String turn in a way where you just take 4 prizes in 1 turn and the opponent never goes down to a physical 3 or 4 prizes, then that makes it so much harder for the Blacephalon player to actually have that really powerful comeback turn.
And there's one of the cards that Zach loves for this deck. It is Choice Helmet, a new tool from Lost Thunder. It reduces 30 damage from any Pokemon GX that your opponent uses.
Yeah, it's kind of sort of like the polar opposite to Choice Band in a sense, because Choice Band does 30 more damage to EXs and GXs, whereas this reduces 30 damage from EXs or GXs, and kind of reminds me of the Yveltal EX archetype that became popular for a little bit, one featuring Hard Charm. It's a similar sort of concept where you feel like you do enough damage just by attaching the extra energy that you don't necessarily need the Choice Band to hit the right numbers, so it makes more sense to just stop your opponent from hitting the numbers on you instead.
Yeah, one of the decks popularized by Israel Sosa, I believe, for a good stretch there. And looking at Zach's setup, he has the 2 Poipool, the Choice Helmet, and then use the Burst GX. Hits the Marshadow, so no energy there. But he is now down to 5 prizes and looking pretty good for the next couple turns.
Yeah, he is. It is a shame about discarding the 1 of Marshadow. I don't believe he has any way to get it back. No, indeed he doesn't. He doesn't play any kind of recovery cards.
That's one thing we see pretty consistently in these type of Blacephalon decks. They don't play any recovery cards.
No, it's just because you're so straight up focused on getting all the energy out that you don't really have room for much of anything else. We can just see so many 4-ups on this list, like 4 Cynthia, 4 Mysterious Treasure, 4 B-String, 4 Ultra Ball, and with all of those combined, you're just able to, especially with the Heat Factory Prism Star as well, and the amount of basic energy you run, this list is playing 16, you're just able to draw so many cards every single turn.
Oh no, and it looks like Clifton chose to Beacon, but he forgot to use Feather Arrow.
Oh, no.
Kind of calling back from Jitmin. Maybe it's just they don't want to use Feather Arrow necessarily.
Just we can call it the... No. I was gonna say some kind of... no, just forget it.
So looking at his hand, he has that Tapu Lele. He Acerola back up, but since he played that Acerola, no real option for supporter this turn. Not wanting to commit an energy anywhere either. So really kind of a slower start than normal for him here, especially staring down a deck that is pretty good against yours.
Yeah, indeed. There's a Mysterious Treasure from Zach. Is discarding the Fire Energy. He's going to be happy to see that hit the discard pile. And I believe he already has a couple of Naganadel in hand, so it looks like he is going to be going... Yeah, indeed, he has... Is that 3 in hand? No, it's 2 in a Poipole.
Yeah, his hand's pretty insane right now. Even has the Guzma if he doesn't want to go for this option, but since he doesn't have another fire in his hand, probably going to go for that draw card, either Lily or Guzma, or Lily or Cynthia.
Yeah, I can only imagine that's what he's considering. And yeah, there it is. Cynthia off of the Tapu Lele GX, so I imagine right now what he'll do is probably bench that Poipole, evolve into the 2 Naganadels, and then... Oh, no, actually, he's going to leave the bench slot free.
Yeah, pretty good play here. And then Cynthia hoping to get an energy at least, and that's not a big ask when your deck plays 17.
Yes, exactly, because it's not just, of course, the 16 basic fire energy. He does, of course, play the 1 beast energy, which...
that would be pretty good right now for him.
Yes, it would. I mean, that would mean he needs to Lost Zone 1 energy to KO the Vulpix.
Yeah, this is looking like the ideal start for Zach here, and this Cynthia needs to come up with that energy, but again, not a big ask for this deck.
No, and indeed, there it is, proof in the pudding. He hits 3 fire energy, in fact, so 1 on the active, and then assuming he must have, at least 1, if not 2, in the discard pile. Yeah, there's the one he just discarded off the Mysterious Treasure. He will have to Lost Zone 1 off the active, which is a bit of a shame, but not really the end of the world. He'd just rather take the KO here, and actually, that's really important because that means there will be no Alolan Ninetales GX next turn for Clifton.
Yeah, and really that's his big way of really attacking this deck. He does play 2 copies of Counter Gain, which is a very interesting card, especially since he's going to be playing from behind most of the game. And, oh, wow, the trade from Zoroark pulls a Professor Elm's Lecture and a Ninetales. Not really what he wants to look for too bad, but at least the Elms gets him a few more basics.
Yeah, he can grab himself another Rowlet here, another Zora, maybe even the Ditto Prism Star. No, actually, he's just going to go straight for that 11 Vulpix. Of course he is. Does he only have 2 basics in his deck to get?
Well, he has the Ditto as well.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah, because remember, 2 Zora were prized.
Yeah, like we mentioned at the beginning, it's been hugely impactful in how this matchup has played out. He really just wants to get out as many Zoras as possible so that he can start using these Zoroarks to do trades and draw into the resources he needs to set up his Decidueyes and his Ninetales. And as it stands.
With his hand not really looking like much else, there is the Feather Arrow, 20 damage coming down on Zach's side of the board.
He remembered this time.
Yep.
There we go, yeah, 20 goes on there. And then just a Riser's Beating onto the active for 90 damage.
Granted, it is a 2-hit knockout.
Yes, it is still a 2-hit knockout, so that's still going to be good to dampen the pressure coming from Clifton's side onto Zach's Blacephalon.
Yeah, one thing that's kind of awkward for Zach here, if you remember looking at his prize cards, he prized 2 Ultra Ball. That's one of the ways this deck actually is able to discard its fire energy outside of cards like Sightseer or Sophocles, which I think Zach is playing. So with him playing Cynthia here, I don't know if he's going to be able to get enough energy in the discard to use Charging Up and actually take a knockout on the Zoroark.
Well, actually, even if he were to get 2 energy in the discard pile, that wouldn't be enough. He would need to somehow attach, because he's done his manual attachment for the turn, and in fact, he's done it to the bench Blacephalon, so I think at this point he's accepting that he's just going to go for the first attack instead.
Yeah, Burn and Confuse, maybe kind of cheat out an extra turn here if Clifton goes for the attack and doesn't get Confusion. But Heat Factory, a card that we really haven't seen in play, but it's always been in these decks. Really, really good card. Just a Stadium Prism Star card, sticks in play, it's unaffected by your opponent's trainers. The only way to get rid of it is with another Stadium or an attack that discards Stadiums.
Yes, absolutely. It's a fantastic Stadium, and it enables you to, of course, just discard a Fire Energy from your hand and draw 3 cards. So another massive consistency boon to the Blacephalon deck, and while simultaneously getting your Fire Energies in the discard pile for Naganadels Charging Up.
Yeah, and it looks like it might be his option here.
There it is, gets played. And using its effects, discarding the fire, drawing 3 cards. What do you see here?
2 Blacephalon and a B-String. The B-String is pretty good here, though, although the Blacephalon, maybe not so much. He might need 1 later on in the game, but I don't know if you really go through the full 3 or 4 Blacephalon in a game.
I wouldn't have thought so. This could honestly work out really, really nicely for Zach, though, because what's going to probably happen here is that...
Ooh, Tails, burn sticks.
Ooh, wow, that was pretty huge. But, so, even so, this Zoroark is now confused, so Clifton presumably will find some way to retreat. But, so even if he does, and he takes a knockout on the Blacephalon, Beast Ring then becomes live.
Yeah, that's one thing he needs to really worry about, is Beast Ring can just add 100 damage out of nowhere.
And then not only that, but he can maybe use it to power up one of the Naganadals, and then all of a sudden maybe just finish off something else with that instead, so that he's a bit more favorable in that price trade.
Yeah, and there it is. Ninetales, Mysterious Guidance, getting counter gain and rare candy. One of the best cards to come out of Lost Thunder. Just so versatile and really changes the way you build decks.
Yeah, counter gain is a really cool card because it's one of these... Oh, is that another Alolan Ninetales?
Yeah, evolving the Ditto Prism Star into his second Alolan Ninetales GX. Just really wanting to get out all these cards. A second counter gain.
That's two.
Yeah, it's one of the few unique things that Clifton decided to do here. Just really valuing that because, yeah, I'm a setup deck. I might give up a prize or two, maybe a Alolan Vulpix like he did, and counter gain's pretty good.
Yeah, counter great gain, of course, only working if you are losing the game, if you have more prizes left than your opponent. But if that is the situation, when it's attached to one of your Pokemon, it costs all of its attacks cost 1 colorless energy less.
And there is the trade from Clifton. Remember, only having access to 1 Zoroark for basically this entire game. But there is a switch.
Ooh.
Zoroark is now to the bench, safe at least, barring a Guzma.
And there's a Rainbow Energy in Clifton's hand as well, so with that and the counter gain, he can actually just take either do Snowy Wind or just take the knockout. And of course he's going to use Snowy Wind because then he doesn't turn on Beast Ring.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, with that Choice Helmet, it is not a knockout.
No, but that actually works out better for him because if he were to take a knockout here, then the Beast Ring would be live.
Oh, that is true. And now there's 160 on the Blacephalon, meaning a Feather Arrow can take it down, avoiding that Choice Helmet altogether.
Shouldn't it actually be less? Because if it's 17 minus 30, it would be 40. Then it should be 130, right?
There was 90 on it.
And it's taken another 40.
He Feather Arrowed to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense then.
All right. And there should be 1 damage counter on that Ninetales from the Rainbow Energy. And it will for sure most likely get knocked out this turn.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost certainly will. But this works out very well for Clifton because he sets himself up.
Actually, not even for sure. Zach would have to get rid of all 4 of his Fire Energy in play as it stands. Although I do think he has 1 in the discard, or maybe he already charged it up last turn.
I think he already charged it up last turn. It is just more from the sense of now, Clifton has set himself up that he can do that turn where he takes 4 prizes in one go, and then he can play around the Beast Rings.
Yeah, and this is not really what you want to see here from Zach. A Lily for 2. The hand of Beast Ring and double Blacephalon can't really change much, but okay, they're just making it a little nicer for us.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, it is 150.
Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's...
No, because...
No, it should be... No, it is 150. Yeah. 90 and then...
90,
math, it's hard.
No, 90, yes, it is. 90 plus 40 is 130 plus 20, 150, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, math is hard.
So that means Clifton will need to try to find another way to get out a second Decidueye to really take the knockout with Feather Arrow if he chooses to.
Yes, so that makes the sort of that ideal turn a little bit less likely, although maybe he could do something with... Because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, a Choice Helmet only works if the Pokemon's in the active, or does it also work when the Pokemon's on the bench?
I'm pretty sure it works when the Pokemon's on the bench.
As well.
We can probably pull up Choice Helmet and find out for sure, but it's one of those newer cards that we really haven't seen being played that much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most people, when the set came out, just took a look at it.
Oh, no. There is no Fire Energy in that hand for Zach Lesage. And yeah, it looking like Choice Helmet works on the bench as well.
So if that wasn't the case, maybe he could have done some cool play where he used actually residual damage from Snowy Winds to take a knockout. But that's with Choice Helmet, that's actually not really the case. It's not possible at all.
Yeah, now one thing to note is Clifton does have access to 1 Field Blower in his deck that could come up huge, especially maybe a big Guzma play, but it's looking like Zach is choosing, all right,
all in.
I'm going to Mind Blown get rid of 4 fire energy. All my fire energy in play. Take the knockout.
It does leave him on 2 prizes left, so I mean, it does put him in a pretty good position, but it's just a matter of whether Clifton can now find this second Decidueye, do Feather Arrow twice, knock out the Blacephalon, and then follow it up with a knockout on something else to avoid the B-string problems.
Yeah, it's looking like Clifton really needed the Field Blower there from that trade. He does have another Rainbow counter gain, so he can really do the same play before. He also has an option to Sublimation GX. One thing we haven't really talked about with Ninetales, its GX attack is literally, if your opponent's defending Pokemon is an Ultra Beast, knock it out.
Yes, that is obviously an incredibly powerful effect to have, and he does indeed have the Ultra Ball for the Decidueye.
Oh, this is amazing here. Clifton has set up this turn so well, has the Rare Candy and a Counter Catcher in hand. So Counter Catcher the Blacephalon on the bench, Rare Candy to the Decidueye, and then double Feather Arrow taking the knockout on the Blacephalon with the Choice Helmet, and Sublimation GX, and now Clifton has taken 4 prizes in one turn and left Zach with pretty much nothing.
That is absolutely incredible. That is exactly the kind of turn that Clifton needed to see. And he pulls a Zorua from the prizes as well, so that's even better. He can bench that, and Sublimation GX takes a knockout on the Blacephalon.
This Ninetales has so many tricks in its pocket. It is insane.
It's time and time again throughout the course of today and yesterday, we have sort of been talking about why Alolan Ninetales GX is such a good card, and finally we get to see the GX attack in action, and we're proving just why it's so effective.
Yeah, and looking at Zach's list as well, I'm looking for one of those crucial cards like Energy Switch, but I don't see it. That means there's not really going to be an attack, or at least a big attack from Zach this turn.
No, the best thing he can really hope for is try to get the Blacephalon into the active and do the first attack again. Hope that maybe Clifton flips Tails on Confusion and doesn't have a switching out. And those B-strings are looking pretty useless right now.
This has been such a big turn of events for Clifton, just showing the power of Alolan Ninetales and really the counter gain, having both of them at the perfect times. That's why he searched for those 2 in that same turn. And knowing Zach discarded that Marshadow, no real threat of disrupting his hand at all.
No, exactly. It's just absolutely fantastic for that exact reason. Now, and did Zach just pass after doing charging up to the active?
Yeah,
he did. Wow.
Kind of just saves it for a little bit here. Trade coming down. There's the Macargo, not really what you want to see, but Zoroark coming down. That means another trade. Oh.
No? Maybe not. No, he is going to do it. Because all he needs to win at this point is a Guzma, right? Because he just Guzma's the Tapu Lele.
Yeah, and no Guzma there. Hand not looking too good. It does have quite a few double colorless. He pulled those from his prizes, the 2 Zorua and 2 double colorless last turn.
Yeah, so that's... so we're pretty happy about that. It does look like it's just going to be, a snowy... double Feather Arrow, and then maybe just doing a Snowy Wind to maybe set up the win for next turn.
Yeah, or looking like maybe even just a retreat and a Riotous Beating here for 120 damage. Really also just setting up, I can Feather out last time, but no, all right.
He just passes. Interesting.
He pretty much has game in a couple turns if Zach chooses to not really do anything else.
Zach has an Ultra Ball in his hand. I would quite like to see him discard both the B-strings, given that they won't be doing anything for the rest of the game now. He does have to do Heat Track Factory first. There's a soft
there's
freeze.
Another B-string as well.
Wow.
Does have the Beast Energy, which will make this knockout a little bit easier on him, not having to remove 5 energy.
Of course, he has to Guzma. He has to win.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was...
just out of nowhere. Oh man, Clifton's so close, but with Zach taking that early lead, just needing just those 2 more prize cards to take the victory and able to find it there with the Guzma in hand.
Yeah, we were so focused on Clifton's insane turn of taking 4 prizes, we forgot. Zach burst GX, discarded a prize, then next turn took a prize off of Alolan Vulpix, and then took a prize off of Alolan Ninetales. And all he needed was just that last Guzma for game.
Yeah, and he had it. So basically Clifton needed to win that turn, and obviously he wasn't able to, not able to find the Guzma to seal the deal.
That is pretty insane to think about, and that is the strength of this Blacephalon deck. It just takes prizes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and we thought equally at the beginning that, Zach might have a little bit of trouble, given that he had to wait a turn, he had to lost all his energy to take the knockout, and, with that he wasn't able to just follow up with the 2 prizes there. We thought Clifton had it, but no, he managed to just attach 1 turn, and because he survived, just 1 more manual attachment and some charging ups, and that's all she wrote.
Wow. All right. Now, action game 2. Clifton will go first. He's definitely going to need to get kind of the same setup, hopefully not as bad prizes. Maybe he can start attacking with the Water Alolan Ninetales as well to pick off those Poipoles.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he would have loved to do if he had the means to be able to access that, but clearly not something that was available to him. But we will have a look at Zach's prizes first. Looks pretty... Oh,
Ooh,
2 Poipole
2 Poipole.
is not ideal. 1 Blacephalon too.
And no energy in the prizes either, so Burst GX not at its full power.
No, definitely not. But meanwhile, there's a lot better prizes for Clifton than last time. The 1 Makaga being prized is not ideal, but I'm sure he'll take that over 2 Zoras and 2 double colorless energies being prized.
All right, and it looks like they are starting again. Clifton's hand looks pretty sweet to start off. Wonder Tag Tapu Lele for the Professor Elms.
Yeah, it's pretty much the ideal start, no matter which way you spin it, and with that he will be able to grab himself a couple of Zoras, or probably more than likely he'll go for like the combo of one Zora, 1 Ditto, and 1 Rowlet.
Well, I believe he actually has the Ditto Prism Star in hand.
So it doesn't even need to get that off the Elm then. He can just grab a couple of Rowlets or a couple of Zora or whatever he feels like is the best thing to go for.
Yeah, maybe even another Alolan or Alolan Vulpix, because we saw how good Ninetales was in the matchup here.
Yeah, just being able to search for 4 items at 1 turn, getting all the counter gains to hand, which is really what enabled him to have that really completely bonkers turnaround turn where he almost managed to steal the game from it. And he actually does indeed just go for the second Alolan Vulpix.
Ditto Prism Star, although he is missing an energy to attach for the turn, but he does have the Water Alolan Ninetales GX in his hand.
He does.
We could see a pretty insane knockout on a Poipole if he gets a Decidueye out as well.
There's a Fire Injective, and
there's the burst. Let's see what he discards. A Blacephalon. Not what you want to see.
No, but that's literally all he did, though. I mean, what is Zach sitting on right now in his hand?
A bunch of energies and Naganadel and a B-String.
That is...
And Clifton drew a DCE for the turn.
My goodness.
We are going to start the party super fast now.
If he hits Rare Candy Decidueye Choice Band, he has the KO on that Blacephalon.
Oh, no. I wonder if he actually plays Choice Band in his list.
Yeah, we have seen some lists that haven't necessarily, so it wouldn't be a shock if he didn't play it.
He does. He plays 2 copies of Choice Band as well. And there is an Alolan Ninetales GX in his hand. This is why you guys get 2 Vulpix, having pretty much the perfect start against Zach's kind of anemic turn 1.
Does he have the Decidueye in his hand, though? He's going for Rare Candy. He must do.
Rare Candy looking for...
Just needs to find the Choice Band, and he's got the knockout. There it is. They'll both club together.
Choice Band.
That is absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, he even has the Decidueye GX in hand. Doesn't need the Ultra Ball for it.
Yeah, Rare Candy, Decidueye, Feather Arrow, Choice Band, Ice Blade will knock out the Blacephalon in 1 hit. And if Zach doesn't draw something helpful for his turn, we might be going to a very quick Game 3.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Clifton needed. He had that giant turn, ended up losing just because Zach kept taking these cheap prizes. And this has to be a good confidence booster for him going into a possible Game 3.
It's going to be an amazing confidence booster. So there it is. Feather Arrow onto the bench.
So he really just wants to limit. He does not want B-String to become live. He doesn't know Zach's hand.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And then he could just win next turn regardless.
Oh, man. This has been insane. Although Sophocles off the top for Zach Lesage here. Discarding 2 fire energy. The perfect time for that Sophocles here.
Does he draw anything helpful to Sophocles, though? He needs to see more basic Pokemon.
Oh, 3 fire and a Mysterious Treasure. Mysterious Treasure keeps him alive for a turn.
It does, but it's still really not ideal. He might even just consider going for the Marshadow here, going Let Loose.
It's definitely not ideal, but it might be what has to happen.
If nothing else, just to, cut down on Clifton's options, as well as to enable him to see more cards. No, he does actually just go for a second Poipole, it looks like.
All right. Wow. What an insane turn 2 from Clifton.
Could not have asked for a more insane one.
Granted, Zach will be able to burn and confuse this Alolan Ninetales GX, kind of force Clifton to play a little bit more cards like Guzma or Switch.
Yeah, it will. It will force Clifton to go for another out, essentially, that he might not have perhaps needed to find otherwise, unless he wants to take the risk and flip the coin. But I don't know about you, but when it comes to attacking under confusion, I just never feel good about that. There's Beast Energy going on to the active 2, so he actually... Oh, he's just going to go for the Mind Blown.
Yeah, this Blacephalon's going to get knocked out anyway. Might as well get 130 damage in while you can. Kind of leaving the perfect math for Naganadel to actually take the knockout next turn.
Yeah, that would be really cool. There's another Zoroark down from Clifton, going for the trade, drawing... Or rather, the first Zoroark down from Clifton, going for the trade, discarding, drawing 2. You see there's a counter gain there in his hand.
This could be really big. Ultra Ball could fetch Clifton another Alolan Ninetales GX, and if Max Potion is in the deck, Max Potion, DCE, and just be able to take over the game here.
I'd imagine that's what he's going for.
There it is.
Wow.
This is the power of Alolan Ninetales, like we've been saying.
This is another incredible turn from Clifton, and this is really what it comes down to. We know over the course of, the countless different tournaments that we've seen that some of these item cards are some of the key backbones for enabling the strategies that make the top decks win every single time. If you have a card that lets you pick any two at the exact right time and then just get them to your hand so that you always have the right out to any given turn, you end up with turns like these where your opponent's just looking at you thinking, how do I deal with this?
There is double colorless Timer Ball for Clifton. One heads, one tails. Fails it. And then Cynthia really just try to get that Timer Ball out of your deck. You have all the evolutions you want to have in play.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't need that anymore. He doesn't want to redraw it, so literally just playing it to get it out of the hand, and now he can just maybe see some more energies off of Cynthia or something like that, more stuff to trade away. Yeah, there's a Rainbow Energy in his hand, so he has something to follow up with for the next turn. Draws a Counter Catcher too, not that he's going to need it this game.
Well, he's actually behind in prizes right now, thanks to Zach's Burst GX. So what he's doing now is playing around Beast Ring again, leaving that Blacephalon GX in the active spot, ready to just be knocked out by a Feather Arrow, and taking the knockout on the Poipole on the bench.
Yeah, just one Feather Arrow plus Ice Blade is enough to KO the 70 HP Poipole, just leaving Zach with one Blacephalon and one Naganadel, and with a hand of 2 Fire Energy and a Beast Ring.
Yeah, so there is the burn and confusion from Blacephalon. But if Clifton has a Guzma double colorless, could just take the game right here, right now.
He doesn't even necessarily need a Guzma. If he has the means of just attacking with a Zoroark, he could just KO the Naganadel outright after doing Feather Arrow to deal with the Blacephalon.
That is true, yeah.
And at this point, he just plays the Ultra Ball, discards the Zora and a Decidueye, just to get another Decidueye out of his deck to fin it, so that he's more likely to see that, because he's only got Rainbow Energies in his hand right now, and that's not quite enough. There's a trade. There's an Acerola.
Acerola is the perfect card here, and I think that will take the game.
Yes, it will, because...
Feather Arrow, knock out the Blacephalon. Acerola pick up the Alolan Ninetales, and then place the Alolan Vulpix down, take the knockout with Riotous Beating. Oh, I think they're just making him play out. Yeah, you gotta take your prizes.
Yeah, Acerola picks up double colorless, and double colorless onto the Naganadel, and then he just needs to bench Pokemon and takes the KO.
There we go. Wow.
So actually, the burn damage actually
helped him out there.
Yeah, because that meant he was able to pick up the double colors with the Acerola and reattach it to the Zoroark to win.
Man, Clifton's deck is pretty sweet. Only time will tell, because Zach kind of stumbled a little bit there. Didn't really have much going in his hand.
I mean, when your turn 1 is just attach Energy Burst GX, you're probably not going to be having a very good time.
So going first will definitely be a big advantage. It'll take Clifton a little bit of time to get out those evolutions in his deck. And we'll see if Zach is able to cobble together something. He still has not been able to use Beast Ring at all this match.
And this is something that we've seen a lot with this particular matchup, is that it's because of the way the Decidueye plays out, it is one of these decks that actually can play around the Beast Ring turns. Normally, playing around a Sledgehammer turn from a Buzzwole player isn't too bad, because you can go down to 5 prizes and then take 2 to take 3 prizes, and then they can't get that 120 damage turn. But when Beast Ring works on either 3 or 4 prizes, it means you essentially need to take 3 prizes in one turn to sort of get around that, or rather go down from 5 to 2, and Decidueye is one of the few decks that can actually do that.
Yeah, it's a pretty insane card to think about, just placing 2 free damage counters every turn. And it looks like Zach will start off with a mulligan here.
Yep, not that uncommon. Of course, the Cephalon decks, Pokemon lines are quite thin, especially in Zach's case. I believe he's just playing 10. Just 10 basics. Wow. So yeah, mulligans aren't the most unlikely, but should be able to see one off this next hand, and then of course Clifton will be getting the extra card. But actually, this is another interesting point, I guess, with the way the format is now. Previously, if you went second and you drawn some mulligan cards, you just pretty much wouldn't expect to keep them because you'd just be end straight away and not be able to access them. There's now less cards that actually send cards from the opponent's hand and makes them shuffle in and disrupt. So you're more even going second, you're more likely to keep mulligan cards now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Zach has the option to go for the turn 1 Marshadow to let loose and try to stop Clifton from really getting set up from the get-go.
Yeah, he does have the option to get rid of those extra cards and to just generally leave Clifton on a much lower hand size that it would be much harder to set up with.
And there's the Marshadow in the prizes.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So much for that plan.
Looking at Clifton's double colorless 2 choice, or 2 Ultra Ball,
yeah.
and then the 1 choice band.
Yeah, not too bad, but not really ideal either. You want to, obviously, with the NG counts being so thin, prizing every single double colorless you prize hurts a lot.
All right, game 3, round 13. These players are fighting for a spot in top 8 here in Sao Paulo. Choice helmet.
There's the choice helmet and the fire NG, and he's got a Lily and a Sophocles too. So that's pardon me.
Lily for 4 cards here. Turn 1, Lily is one of the best supporters you can have. Actually gets a Poipole. That's pretty good because he had no option to get them.
No, he didn't. And so drawing into at least 1 just to sort of get him going is going to put him in pretty good stead. And next turn, actually, his follow-up is pretty good because he can Sophocles, discarding the 2 fire energy, and then draw 4 cards.
Yeah, and now Clifton is looking at a Professor Elm's Lecture straight from his hand. Not having to bench a Tapu Lele to search for it means it's no free 2 prizes for Zach on the field.
No, that is the absolute ideal opener for any deck playing Professor Elm's Lecture. That's why you play the maximum 4 copies. It's, although it's not always necessarily useful later on, you can just trade away the extra copies, and just opening with it without having to tap with Lele for it means that you're just such a good stead to take the control of the game.
Now he's just eyeing down what cards he wants. Ditto Prism Star, just an insane card to come out, and probably proving to be the best card out of Lost Thunder, I would think, for this tournament.
You're staking your claim on that one.
Staking my claim. I am betting my reputation on it that Ditto Prism Star is the best card to come out of Lost Thunder so far.
It is hard to argue with how good it is, especially considering so many decks play it just because there's no reason not to, right? Even if it's just a case of you're not sure what thing you need to evolve into, and then you just decide afterwards by using the ability. But then not only that, but it can just let you use these random stage 1 techs that you might not be able to otherwise, or have to dedicate slots in a way where it makes it too clunky.
Yeah, and one of the best things about this Alolan Ninetales Decidueye deck that I love is it really has a lot of playability going first or second.
Yeah.
So going first, you're like, okay, I'm going to get my evolutions in play before you, and I'll have a better time because my guys are pretty good. But if you go second, you have ability to beacon like Clifton is doing right now. All you need is just either to start the Vulpix or retreat any of your Pokemon, because they have 1 retreat, to the Vulpix, and then beacon for free. You get just 2 Pokemon. Yeah,
it's one of those really sort of powerful opening attacks that you're pretty happy if you going second and doing beacon. That, especially again now, like we've already mentioned, there's less disruption cards in the format, so you're much more likely to be able to actually keep those cards off the beacon. And just as mentioned there, going back to Zach's turn, there's the Sophocles discarding 2 fire energy, you're going to draw 4 cards.
Yeah, and he actually drew a fire energy for the turn, which is pretty good as well, because if he didn't get 1 off here, which he didn't,
wow.
He wouldn't have been able to actually mind blown this turn.
No, indeed not. So a great find for him. It does find a Naganadel as well, which gets put onto the Poipole straight away to evolve it. Fire energy onto the active. And he's actually debating putting a choice helmet on, and he does indeed put it on the Naganadel, just trying to protect that a little bit better. And I imagine he's going to end up just doing this mysterious treasure, discarding the Sophocles just to make sure he can get another Poipole into play.
Yeah, you saw Clifton kind of move the Alolan Ninetales GX to the front of his hand. Once he saw that double choice helmet, he's like, oh, yes, my Field Blower is going to be really good.
Yes, that is it's going to be the opportune moment to use that. And it might even take Zach by surprise a little bit, because one of the reasons why Zach is happy taking the risk of playing something like Choice Helmet, which usually these kind of tools that have to rely on sticking around to do anything aren't played much, is because of cards like Field Blower existing that can just discard them. But as we've said so many times over this weekend, Field Blower counts have dropped a little bit because of these new Prism Star stadiums that can't be discarded by them, and just because of the way the deck building has generally shaped up. Like Field Blower is just a lesser priority. But it's going to be used here.
So we see the charging up from Zach there, putting the energy on the Naganadel. So he has a decision to make, decides to go with the Burst GX, discarding the Marshadow again. Yeah, he's like, that's where the Marshadow is.
Yeah, again? Just like,
but
twice.
With doing that, he actually left the Alolan Vulpix in the active spot safe and sound, meaning if Clifton gets the right combination of cards, he can take a knockout on the Poipole on the bench.
Yeah, you can, and let's not forget, because he has a Ditto out, he can actually, whilst simultaneously getting the Water Alolan Ninetales in the active, you evolve the Ditto into the Fairy Alolan Ninetales to search for the items he needs.
Yeah, big brain plays.
Yeah, that's what makes Ditto so good. He's got the rare candy ready in his hand as well.
Yeah, who even needs to Mysterious Guidance when you just have everything in your hand already? We could see him Mysterious Guidance for the Field Blower.
Interesting enough, he does decide to evolve the active instead of the bench, interestingly enough.
He does have access to the counter gain in his hand because Zach discarded one of his prize cards.
Oh, yes, of course, because of the Burst GX. So he might be just thinking of going for attack with that. And yeah, we can see straight away the Field Blower going to the bottom of the deck along with the counter gain. Just so he knows exactly what he needs to get here to progress his game state.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what play Clifton decides to do. He has been opting to play around B-String a lot. So if he has maybe a counter catcher in his hand as well, bring up the Poipole and do some damage.
Yeah.
Or he could choose the Sublimation GX and actually just take a knockout and kind of go, I don't think you have a good enough hand to actually capitalize on using B-String.
I would be kind of surprised if he did go for the Sublimation. That's kind of why I thought he would go for the Water Alolan Ninetales in the active as well, because if he just finds a Choice Band, then he could do 160 with a double colorless, or even just with any kind of a Rainbow Energy and a counter gain, to put the Blacephalon onto 160, and then set himself up for one of those amazing turns where he takes 3 or 4 prizes and skips the B-String turn. If he does Sublimation, that just turns on B-String straight away.
All right, this is going to be a very important 6 cards from Clifton here. So far, no energy in those 6.
Oh, no.
I believe he has access to 1 trade. He also could evolve the Ditto into the Zoroark in his hand and trade again, but really needing to find energy here. He finds the Rainbow.
Off the last card of the trade, exactly at the right time. He has got to be breathing a sigh of relief.
So now he has a decision to make. He does have Counter Catcher in his hand. Could choose to counter catcher the Poipole and bring it up, but then you're really just saying this Alolan Ninetales is going to get knocked out.
Yeah, and that's not really ideal for him. I think it's a much trickier decision than it was before, because you don't want to turn on the B-String, but at the same time, how do you best play around the Blacephalon to make sure that you don't get completely destroyed by the inevitable Mind Blown? There's a Feather Arrow onto the Poipole in any case.
This will be a big turn for Clifton here. What does he decide to do? All right.
Snowy Wind.
70, 30 more damage on the Poipole, putting it well within range of taking the knockout off a Feather Arrow.
So basically what Clifton is saying here is that he's pretty much accepting that the Alolan Ninetales is going to be knocked out, and maybe thinking next turn he can follow up with like another really strong double knockout of some sort with another Fairy Alolan Ninetales maybe.
Yeah, it was definitely the best play to do, because Zach top-decked that Ultra Space Stadium for his turn. So powerful, being able to search for an Ultra Beast card, put it in your hand, meaning if he did decide to take the knockout, search for the Blacephalon, double B-String in his hand, it would have been terrible for him.
Yeah, that was definitely a bullet dodged by Clifton there, just playing it safe with setting up the damage rather than taking the knockouts immediately, because he just understands how much of an impactful and turnaround card B-String can be if it's just left unchecked.
All right, big 6 cards here from Zach. Needs a little bit of setup, but right now is looking pretty good. Gets another Blacephalon Heat Factory as well. Cannot play that card this turn. You can only play one stadium per turn.
But it's still really good to have. He actually, interestingly, looking from the Ultra Ball, he might be deciding to discard the Tapu Lele GX.
Yeah, the only one Tapu Lele GX in his deck, meaning if he decides to discard it, it won't really have access to a supporter, but does have Heat Factory for next turn.
Yes, indeed he does. And actually, maybe he's just debating. He's really agonizing over this Ultra Ball decision. He actually just opts to discard the Blacephalon instead with the Ultra Ball.
I'm actually fine with this. With Ultra Space in play, if it sticks around, that means it's just another Blacephalon next turn.
Yeah, that makes sense. So he's just perfectly content just using... Oh, he's actually just doing it within the deck. Yeah, okay, just getting the extra Fire Engine and discard, and discarding the Blacephalon, getting another one because he feels like the two will be enough to carry him through the match.
Yeah, I actually don't mind that play at all. You really need to find a way to keep getting your Fire Energy in your discard.
You really do. There goes the Fire Energy onto the Blacephalon. So charging up, there might be a bit of debate of,
So he's the one that he evolved into this turn,
yes.
But the one that was already there had not used it yet.
That's what I thought happened as well. So there it is. Looks like he's going to be lost zoning 4, and that will be, of course, enough to KO the Ninetales. Something actually important that we should mention is that Zach's list does play the full complement of 4 Blacephalon. So even having discarding 1, if he does need a third one to finish out the game, he will still be able to get one at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Back to Clifton now as he drops the Zoroark onto the Zorora, evolving it. Looks like he's playing his own Ultra Ball, discarding a Guzma and a Switch. Maybe looking for another follow-up alone on Ninetales to get a few more items out. No, actually,
looking for the Macargo. The Spice has come out for Clifton here. Macargo card usually see in decks like Grand Bull or the Zork variants, where just being able to smooth over, put a card on top, and then trade into it or instruct into it is pretty insane to think about. Clifton's like, I want to do a little bit of that too, but I don't want to commit too much to it.
Well, no, exactly. And these are the sort of things you've got to really consider. There is the Cynthia being played in any case. Growing 5.
Oh, is there energy here?
No.
I think the last card was a rainbow.
Yes, it was.
So with the rainbow and the counter gain, he could decide to take a knockout. He could also save it and just smooth over for maybe a double colorless.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he actually decided there. He moved the card a little bit too fast. Couldn't quite see what he actually got off the smooth over, but of course we'll see it after he...
I think it might have been Alolan Vulpix.
I mean, he does definitely want another one of those out now that he's committed the Ditto to evolving into this Macargo. He wants to be able to get, and actually just discards the water Alolan Ninetales, and yep, it was indeed the Alolan Vulpix
he gets Counter Catcher here.
Wow.
Could be a pretty big card in playing around those B-string turns like we've been saying.
There's a rare candy being traded away as well, discarding 2 more cards. No Rowlets out means he doesn't need another rare candy Decidueye, and there goes a rainbow onto the Zoroark indeed with the counter game.
It is very tough though. This rainbow energy puts a lot of ease on Zach for next turn. Only need to discard or lost zone 4 fire energy instead of 5 to take the knockout on this Zoroark.
Yeah, and
I actually like this here. Ryan is beating, choosing not to even go for another benched Pokemon. He has that Tapu Lele in hand, but he doesn't take the knockout.
Clifton has been playing this absolutely masterfully, just, again, really realizing that if he enables Zach to get away with too many B-strings, that is how he loses this game. Instead, he's just playing it patiently, building up the damage to that 4-prize turn, where he can just clear all the energy off of Zach's field, and with no access to B-string, no opportunity to make a comeback from it.
Man, this is kind of looking like the way Game 1 has shaped out, because after this turn, if Zach gets another fire energy, which right now he doesn't have any in his hand, but he has plenty in his deck, he will be able to take a knockout on the active Zoroark, put himself down to 1 prize left.
Yeah, he will. And he's actually no longer able to bench Tapu Lele. He's just committed the bench slot to the third Blacephalon, replaces his own Ultra Space with the Heat Factory Prism Star, and then goes for the Cynthia.
Yeah, this is going to be a big Cynthia, looking for a fire energy.
That's all he needs. It's not a big ask, I think.
It's not too bad.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be back on Clifton to see if he can actually cobble together a double knockout and put himself down to 2 prize cards left. But then again, he might be just at the mercy of maybe a Guzma and maybe even Naganadel attacking.
Quite possibly. In any case, there is both. He has a Fire Energy and a Beast Energy to choose from. He looks like he does opt to go for the Heat Factory, discarding the Fire, just draws 3 cards. There's a Beast Ring in his hand.
Oh,
so,
right.
So I guess almost like a small saving grace for Clifton is that obviously not they would have known that, but even if he hadn't attached the Rainbow with the Beast Energy, Zach would have still been able to get the KO without lost zoning 5 energy.
Zach just playing down his cards, trying to get as much energy as possible in the discard and thin out his deck as much as well.
Grabs a Poipole and I believe just puts it into his hand.
The game is definitely going to end within these next couple turns. It'll just be up to Clifton to see if he can actually cobble together this double GX knockout next turn.
There's the Beast Energy onto the active. A couple of charging ups will do the trick and enable Zach to take the KO on the Zoroark. He will only need to Lost Zone 4 energy to do it, and I'd actually be quite interested to see which 4 he opts to Lost Zone. The Beast Energy...
It kind of has to be the 2... Oh.
Interesting. Is he expected to not be KO'd? Maybe, or rather, maybe it's almost perhaps like a baiting decision, because obviously if Clifton is able to take the KO then and not follow it up with another KO, then that would enable some potential Beast Ring shenanigans. But yeah, no, actually that seems a bit risky because...
Yeah, really just putting forth and saying, I don't think you have it.
Yeah, except Clifton could, if he draws a Rainbow Energy, he could just go for the same play he did last game where he does Sublimation plus Counter Gain. There's a Counter Catcher.
Does have 1 Rainbow left as well as 2 Fairy in his deck. Bring up the Blacephalon with 20 damage on it.
Oh boy. There's the Alolan Ninetales.
A pretty insane turn here. We could see maybe something like the Switch if he still has access to it.
He's got it guaranteed, right? Because, yeah, he can grab... Oh, is that Max Potion? No.
Yeah.
What is that? No, it's Choice Band plus...
Choice Band Max Potion.
Interesting. So maybe sort of predicted time for next turn. He's not got anything damaged right now. But he also can't pick up the KO on that Blacephalon with the Zoroark.
Oh, here is a Judge. Maybe hoping... I'm going to put more damage on your Blacephalon, judge you into probably not a Guzma. Because Guzma would win it for Zach Lesage here. Only needing 1 prize can just take down that Alolan Vulpix on the bench.
But would it though? Because like that Blacephalon on the bench is going to go down. There's no way for Zach to power up like something that needs free energy to attack. He even on a Blacephalon.
Well, if he chooses to knock out the Blacephalon, Beast Ring will be turned on.
Yeah, because maybe like I was saying before, he could have maybe with the Makago Smooth Over, he could have maybe guaranteed the play with Feather Arrow the bench, Blacephalon KO it, then counter gain Rainbow Energy on the Alolan Ninetales, take the knockout. But
here's the Smooth Over, probably searching for that double colorless energy. And with the way it is now, it's 150 damage, putting the Blacephalon to just 10 damage left. This is really where only having 1 Decidueye GX in play is hurting.
Yeah.
Because if he had 2, that is 4 prizes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just again, feels like a missed opportunity there. There's the double colorless. There's an enhanced hammer too. Not that's very helpful for him right now.
Doing some math here, making sure he wants to do sequencing right. Double colorless, and then there is a riot. Oh, Feather Arrow.
Yeah, and then.
So yeah, it's looking like Guzma will be the card to win it for Zach here if he has it in his hand. He does. He has the Guzma and Fire Energy.
Wow.
That will be game, folks. Zach Lesage pulling it out, overcoming these insane turns that Clifton has been presenting him. There is the Guzma, and that is game. Zach Lesage almost for sure well in contention for top 8.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations to Clifton. Obviously, he played it extremely well, but I think in that last few turns, they're just missing perhaps the opportunity to take that 4-prize turn and, avoiding the B-string turn, instead having to play around and do it in that sort of way, where instead he just doesn't knock out the Blacephalon. And unfortunately for him, the judge not sticking and Zach being able to take the win.
Yeah, trying everything he can to just prevent Zach for one more turn. That's all he needed.
Yeah,
is one turn.
That was an absolute nail biter, though. I'll tell you what, that was incredible to watch. And again, the power of Blacephalon being shown at full welly here, and just